Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the UnFuckIt discussion. It's August 21st. August has also disappeared, just like July and June did, and May. Not sure where they went to, but apparently we're at the end of August now. If you're Canadian, you know the CNE is opening in the next couple of days, I think, and that's like the sign of like, oh, summer's over in Canada. CNE opens in Toronto. That's the Canadian National Exhibition for all those non-Canadians out there. What to talk about today? We got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about tonight, but I want to say hi to Twitch. Everyone out there in Twitch, hi guys. Brianna is in Twitch. If you guys, I do not have Twitch open right now, the Twitch chat, because my internet is a wee bit sketchy. So if you have any questions out there on the live stream, type them into the chat. Brianna will bring them over here to make sure that I see them. Okay, so we have a couple of things I want to bring up, because we have a couple of weird, beyond the normal weird, beyond our usual fucking weird. Wildfires. Now, if you guys have been tracking this, there's a good portion of the planet that's on fire right now. And crazy, because the media is not talking about it. So the big one that the media's just today started talking about, literally just today, and I honestly believe it's one of those things where the pressure from social media kind of forced them to at least mention it, is the wildfires in the rainforest in Brazil. I don't know if you guys have followed this and what's going on in Brazil with the wildfires there. It's been burning for 3 weeks. It is a massive, like unbelievably massive wildfire in the middle of the rainforest in Brazil, which no one in the media is talking about until today. Well, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was social media pressure that made them go, oh, I guess we kind of have to say something about this now. Crazy Crone, that's what I was tossing around today. Okay. You heard it was purposefully started, and there is always that chance that they want an excuse to do some clear cutting and take some land. So there's one rumor put out there that it was started deliberately and that it got out of hand, as happens. But the other things to consider, and it's one of those, right? So we went through this all last year when we talked about the California wildfires. And there was a lot of course, the alt media was like, oh, it's dew weapons, that's what it is, it's dew weapons. And I was saying, okay, but wait, you're not addressing all the other wildfires that are going on that are burning the same way as this one in similar areas. Like we had wildfires in Portugal, we had wildfires in Spain, we had in Germany, we had wildfires all over the world. Massive one in Africa, and by comparison, the one in California was like real fucking small. So now we've got a situation again where, okay, so we have Brazil's on fire. Brazil's literally on fire right now. But no one's talking about the Arctic is on fire. The Arctic Circle is on fire right now. It's the biggest fires they have ever seen in the Arctic. It's insane. Up northern Russia is on fire. Like Siberia has been burning now for 2 fucking months. Wildfires. They're just insane wildfires. Canary Island. Yeah, the Canary Island is seriously in bad shape. They're now evacuating people out of the Canary Islands. All these vacationers who are there. It's one of the biggest vacation spots in Europe, and they're literally evacuating people because the Canary Island fires have gotten that out of control. We have wildfires that have been happening in Australia. So when someone says, I think it was deliberately set, I get it, because especially in Brazil, places like that, there's a lot of shit going on there. We know they want some of that land to take it back from the forest. We know that they can't touch it because the global community would go insane if they started saying we're going to clear cut thousands and if millions of acres of land. So a fire would be very convenient, except that we have these massive fires burning out of control everywhere, and quite literally everywhere. Places where we don't get wildfires. Like, I'm sorry, when Alberta and BC start burning, it's kind of a yearly event now. When California starts burning, it's kind of a yearly event now. Portugal, areas like this, it happens all the time. This is different. This is the rainforest, the Arctic Circle. Like, these are not areas that are known for catastrophic wildfires, right? So we go back again, we look at electric universe stuff, and what I've been saying all along, plasma discharges. Is that what we're seeing causing this? This is something that has to be seriously considered, especially when we see the stuff that is going on. Now, one of the things I want to talk about, yes, Nancy, exactly. Nancy just wrote, Jay Widener on his show yesterday with Ice Age Farmer mentioned he traveled and he's observed all the trees in the mountains above 5,000 feet are all dead. And he named the state and he said, it was a fire disaster waiting to happen, 5,000 feet. Okay, so that's in the States. This is not the first time I've heard this. I've heard that kind of reports coming out of places in Europe where they're saying upper level trees high up in the atmosphere are dying. Well, what do we know? The higher up in the atmosphere you go, the higher up above sea level you go, the thinner the atmosphere gets. The thinner the atmosphere gets, the less protection. Because our atmosphere is a protective barrier that helps keep out ultraviolet light, the UVA, UVB, UVC, all of these other things. Those things are coming through now. Now we know because we're getting the measurements. We've been talking about this since last year. And again, this year, people are putting up articles talking about the fact that UVC is now proven that UVC is hitting ground level. And there's never been a study done to prove what that will do to plant life, animal life, humans, etc. Because they've always said, oh, no, our atmosphere blocks out 100% of the UV light and blocks out, 80% of the UVB light. Well, that's not true because now we've got people out there with actual measuring implements who are measuring the UVA and the UVB, and it's off the fucking charts. It's insane. We were talking about it just this week. I was talking with Jenny, I was talking to Ann. The sun, and we keep talking about the sun, and the feeling of the sun on your skin has changed. And what is interesting is that it seems to change daily. It's not like, and this is what I've noticed, okay, and I'm in Malta, so I'm down in the southern Mediterranean, we're in Europe, in the south of Europe, in the Mediterranean. It's not like the change is there, like the sun changes and then it stays there. It fluctuates. Even last January, I had Emily Moyer on, and she was talking, she's in California, and she was talking about being out jogging in January, and you'd have days where you'd go out jogging for 2 hours and not have a single bit of sun, like no sunlight at all, and then a week later go out jogging and literally get a sunburn. Literally in a sunburn in the exact same time of year, the same kind of cloud cover, etc. It's been the same here. You have certain days. 3 days ago, Nick and I were sitting out on our back terrace, and it was a bit of cloud cover. So when we sat the chairs down, there was clouds overhead, so you don't realize you're sitting out in the open. We sat down, we're talking. All of a sudden, the cloud moved and the sun hit us. And literally within a minute, the two of us were like, oh my God, we have to get out of the sun. It felt like your skin, within a minute of the sun being on you, it felt like your skin was frying. It was that horrific. And I am, like I always say, I'm a sun worshiper. I've been lying in the sun my whole life. It's one of my most favorite things to do. I cannot go in the sun. We go down to the beach. We don't go down to the beach until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, when the sun is well past its peak. I went out 2 days ago in the sun, and I was out walking, and the sun was hot, but it didn't feel the same. There was not that sizzle. There was not like your skin felt like it was burning instantly. You could walk comfortably. Yes, it was hot, but it was comfortable to be in the sun. So there are fluctuations happening. And if we look at the trees, and we look at the evidence of higher level altitude trees are dying, is that because of the UV radiation? The UV radiation could literally be burning the trees. And then we've had pictures taken, and some of the UnFuckers last summer talked about, they took photos of their plants, and there were burn marks, like the leaves were showing decided marks of what looked like burns on them, as if they were being burned with a magnifying glass, which is kind of like what's happening, really. So when we look at these wildfires, again, are we in a situation where the ultraviolet, just to use that one reference point, because it's something we can all visualize, we all have experience with ultraviolet sunlight. Is the ultraviolet getting so high that up in the thinner layers of the atmosphere, it is literally frying and killing off all the trees? If, for example, in the rainforest, where we're talking about big, tall, huge, massive trees, are the upper levels of the trees maybe getting damaged from the ultraviolet light? So that if there's a lightning spark, everything goes out? In the Arctic, this, like I said, this isn't an area. These areas of the Arctic that are burning, a lot of it is what we call scrub. And I don't know if a lot of people have any experience. Like, you have what's known as the Arctic tree line. That basically, once you get up a certain far enough north, trees really don't grow very well. So everything goes down to scrub. So it becomes very short trees. It becomes, everything's very low to the ground to protect from the extreme cold during the winter. These are burning now. So this is some serious shit that's going on. And I've heard from multiple people who are saying, I can't go in the sun. I cannot go in the sun. And that's how I feel right now. Like, literally, I am almost, I hate to say it, begging for summer to be over. Because the sun is so brutal that you just don't want to go outside. You don't want to step outside at any point in time when the sun's up. Oh, Jim, okay, so you caught iRay on Leak Project. He is the scientist studying ground level UVC and other UV factors. Jim, if you have a link, can you drop it to me, please? Because I'm trying to keep track of this. UVC, as I said, has not ever been studied. We don't know what the effects are. We just don't know what the effects are. So when I'm looking at these massive forest fires, I am, let's say, 99% convinced that we are talking about electrical discharge stuff, that we're talking like electric universe. When we're seeing the magnetics go insane, we know the electrical. We're seeing, again, more transformers blown again this week. There's been like power outages again all over England during a lightning storm. And you go, okay, yeah, it's a lightning storm. People, that's when you get power outages. But there was a vast amount of power outages in London in certain areas. And I had friends who were in the south of England who were like, we got rained on. There was not that big a deal. And our power went out for 6 hours. And and the same thing in the States. Several of the UnFuckers have written in the UnFuckIt room and the UnFuckers room in the last 2 weeks saying, well, we had no power again. We had no power again. We have no idea why there was no power. They're saying, oh, the electricity's gone down, et cetera, et cetera. So this is happening more and more.
I had power that flickered. Just like, and yeah.
Yep, the flickering power is another one. Yeah. It was flickering so bad here the other day that both my girls looked up at the light and were like, oh, call the Winchesters. The lights are flickering. Get the salt. And those of you who watch Supernatural will know what I'm talking about. So we have that. We have that one piece there. Now, again, I have stopped doing the geomagnetic updates because there's only so many times you can do a video when you say, I just don't know what it is. I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Like, I just feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again, going, okay, well, here's a blast. We see it come in. We can see it's not the solar winds. We can see that these blasts are coming in. So you get to the point where you just feel like I'm repeating myself. So I haven't done one in about a month. But since July 21st, oh, look, a month ago, we've been having, there's been a very decisive change. That the stuff that we're seeing coming in, incoming, this waves, whatever it is, incoming, and the effects on the geomagnetics of the planet and what we're seeing on the graphs. Today, started at about 7 o'clock in the morning UTC. So UTC is 5 hours ahead of Eastern Standard. At 7 a.m. UTC, these waves started, and they continued nonstop until, well, the last time I checked was about an hour and a half ago. And they have just continued bombarding. The proton density. So we're not talking the solar wind speed. The solar wind speed stayed at between 400 to 600 the whole time, this whole day. So it's not the solar winds, but the density of the energy hitting the planet was spiking off the chart. We're talking 160, 170. It usually sits between 5 and 7, maybe 10 at tops. And it was hitting 160. John is right. Rheometers. Now, the rheometers measure radio waves. Okay? So it's another frequency. So I look at the one that's up in Iceland or Sweden. I've got several that I look at up in the Scandinavian countries. The rheometers have been epically insane for the last week. And I'm talking off the charts. As in the line goes up and it just fucking disappears. And it doesn't come back till the next day. That's the radio waves that they're picking up. No one's talking about that. Well, what we are seeing, though, is a multitude of articles coming out. All kinds of new science articles are coming out talking about, oh, we are seeing a massive influx of cosmic rays, the fastest, most energetic cosmic ray particles ever captured in history, incoming to the planet in May this year. And the study came out in April this year, and the study came out in May. And these rays were hitting over 100 TeV. So to give you a little bit of, just to put that into perspective, we freaked out when CERN came back online in April of 2015, and they were going for 13 TeV. And we were like, are you fucking crazy? Over 100 TeV. This is like epic when you want to talk about a measurement of the energy of a particle. We have a multitude of news stories coming out about cosmic rays incoming. Interesting one, a measurement of gamma rays coming off our moon, saying that it's like 100 times more gamma rays are coming off our moon than comes from the sun. Wait, what? Like, I literally read this study and it was just like, okay, first of all, someone needs to drug test these people because their theory is so laughable. It's basically, they're trying to say the cosmic rays are, because it's solar minimum, the sun isn't protecting our moon, and the cosmic rays are coming in and they're going into the moon and they're being magically transmuted into gamma rays. More powerful than coming off of our sun. I shit you not, this is what scientists are trying to sell us. This is what they're trying to sell us. But it's interesting because they say it's the highest readings they've ever seen, but they've only just started looking. So is it Is it because they've never been studying this before, so they're trying to find a baseline? Or is there this massive increase of cosmic rays that are incoming in? And they just happen to be hitting that thing up there that we call a moon, which we all know is not a fucking rock in space. You know, the thing that rings like a bell when you hit it and looks like it was mass produced in a factory in China. The little sectional pieces that were poorly welded together, to say the least. So, all these pieces, all these fucking pieces are coming out right now. Crazy, crazy stuff. And the mainstream still isn't talking about it. But in the meantime, we have the ridiculous weather. We have the ridiculous geological events, so your volcanoes, your earthquakes, et cetera, and we have raging forest fires all over the place. I can show you the graphs. If you want to see the graphs, I can pull them all up for you guys. It's up to you. I have them all loaded in case. Or you can just take my word for it and just be like, yeah, they're fucking insane. They're just like fucking epically crazy. I don't know. It's crazy stuff. Really, really crazy stuff. Moving on from the crazy stuff, kind of. Anne posted a really great link today. Anne, I think it was you who posted about the biochar. It's posted in the UnFuckers, and it is about biochar, carbon, literally charcoal, like what we talk about. And most of us know like charcoal is really healthy for you. People take charcoal all the time and drink it, et cetera, et cetera. It's good for your teeth. It's good for, obviously it acts like a filter, which is why we use charcoal and charcoal-based filters. But this article goes into some really interesting stuff, and they're talking about using biochar in a plaster for building houses. And they're saying that basically the charcoal, has all kinds of amazing effects. One of them is, blocks radiation. I'm so like, Fred and I are like, okay, so can we get some of this and mix it in paint, and can we like paint our houses with this stuff to like make kind of like a radiation shield? You need it, Fred, just so you know, I was reading further research on it. The test they're doing right now is on a 2 centimeter thick plaster that they're applying to the walls. And yeah, it literally blocks radiation. Hello, Wi-Fi, 5G, and all that stuff. It contains can contain up to 5 times more moisture, absorb that much moisture. So it's antifungal. It doesn't get mildew. It doesn't get mold. It also, one of the interesting ones is what it does to the water. And I'm going to post the link to the biochar, and if you actually go to the site that link is on, there's a lot of articles. There's some really, really interesting stuff. And they talk about, for example, biochar being used to clean water. And my brain jumped to and went, okay, biochar, carbon, and C60. Is the C60 kind of like the internal, if you will, higher level of what we're talking about with the biochar? Because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, for example, blocking radiation, what do we know C60 does? We know that C60 blocks radiation. And not only blocks radiation, but it actually heals the damage caused by radiation. Then we look at, for example, okay, so not just the radiation, but some of the things like water. And one of my thoughts, and I was talking to Nick about this, was like, first of all, we know our body is a mass amount of water, but now we talk about cells. And someone also posted a really interesting article earlier this week talking about the new organ that they're discovering, this water barrier around cells and how it works. It was a TED Talk. Can somebody help me find it? It was a TED Talk, and the woman talks so fast. You were like, oh, the poor one is like a 10-minute time slot to talk in, and she was talking as fast as she could. She was talking about the reactions and the energy transfer between the cells using this water. And I sat there and thought, okay, when we talk about charcoal cleaning the water, is that part of what we see with the C60? Is that the C60 acts as a natural reset to the water that is in the cells and surrounds the cells. So it's really interesting. Like I said, this was only today, so I haven't had a chance to look it up yet. All this kind of stuff is really, really interesting. And the same thing, like, so when we talk about, for example, there are people who swear by charcoal. Every first aid kit should have charcoal for certain types of poisoning that can happen, certain types of sickness that you get. Taking charcoal in capsules, right? Then you can buy them already in capsules. Although you want to know who the supplier is and where the charcoal is coming from, obviously, like anything that you purchase. But biochar is really easy to make. Like it is, if you've got a backyard and you can get a burning permit, obviously, making biochar is really, really easy. And then you're making the char from whatever you put into that fire. So for example, you could literally burn hemp stalk and make a hemp stalk biochar. So there's some interesting stuff here, like really, really, really interesting. I'm trying to catch what everyone's got here. That is probably it, Sony. Hold on. No, if I click on it, it'll open up and then I'll be fucked. Because I will lose my internet and it'll all crash. I'm trying to catch up with you guys here. Yeah, charcoal tabs, everyone. I'm actually out. I actually need to get some charcoal. It's on my to-do list. Actually, after reading the biochar article today, I was like, you're out of charcoal. You've been out of charcoal for about a year. Time to order some and make sure I have some. It is something that everyone should have. And like I said, you can just get it in capsules, so it's like not like you have to like drink it. Some people are hardcore and they put it in their water and drink it. Not for me. I'll just take mine in a capsule, thanks. Yeah, and it's the best water filters ever. Exactly, Leonida. That's exactly it. So there's a lot of interesting stuff here. And with the C60, I've got a lot of questions because there's a lot of aspects to the C60 that scientists don't comprehend yet. They know it does a job, like i.e. they do a study, they do this with the rats, the mice, etc., and in some case humans. And they see an effect, but they don't know why. They don't know how it happened. They don't know why it did this or it did that or it cleared up this, etc. Even the radiation protection of C60, they really don't comprehend how it does it. They have the studies. They can prove that not only does it protect from the radiation, it also reverses radiation damage that's already been done. And they talk about things like antioxidants, etc. But there's more to it. But the problem is scientists are stuck in their little peg holes and they only have certain descriptive ways of looking at things. And they never look outside for the most part, right? So it's interesting how that comes up. It's interesting how that comes up.
Oh, yeah, when you said that, I was going to jump in real quick, Dee. When you said that, they pretty much have to go by the status quo.
Yeah, they do. And you can't break the status quo. So, I mean, that's just it. But it's not just that. It's when you're trained to only look at a problem and solve a problem one way, they don't, and university doesn't teach, for the most part, does not teach the analytical skills to go outside the box. It's basically, it's if it's not A, then it's B, and if it's not B, then it's C, or it's D. And if it's outside of that, well, it must be a mistake, it must be an error, it must be a fluke. No one actually gets into very few scientists will go beyond what their scope is, what they're told to look for, what they've been told the answer is, to figure it out. And I mean, that's the continuous thing with C60. We have stuff that comes up all the time with the C60.
Then you have the dogmatic.
Explain it.
Then you have like the dogmatic aspect of scientists, where it's like a lot is also dependent on what's going to be funded. what's going to be
Absolutely.
like to be published. Like, is your research going to be a waste because it won't get into a publishing journal? Like, there's all those hoops you have to jump through. It's just as much as a filtering process as anything.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And who was it who just said, Basi just said, C60 would be a bummer for big pharma. So we know that's why there's a bunch of bullshit research articles that have been put out there about C60. But if you read the articles and you actually go through and read it, you can pull out the pieces of bullshit where it's like all it was is this computer analysis. It's not an actual test. They haven't actually tested the C60. They've just done a computer analysis of what they think it might do, and then they release it as fact. Because, of course, yeah, Big Pharma doesn't want anyone knowing that C60 has all these amazing health benefits and will do these incredible things for you. They don't want people knowing that. And they'll do anything they can to corrupt the information, right? So it's one of the big ones. It's one of the really, really big ones. Now, it's interesting, going back to the whole thing about science and going back to the whole electric universe stuff. Because right now, there is some interesting... Scientists are starting to say things in these studies when they talk about astrophysics, when they start talking about things like cosmic rays and particles and how electrons move, etc. And these links, like there's been a couple of articles talking about, oh, there seems to be a direct link between the moon, Chiron, and when it lines up to Saturn, and it's like, hello, we've been talking about this shit for fucking ages. They won't come out and state it, but it seems like it's starting, some of the electric universe theory now is starting to drip in to the mainstream, into the point of where they're not calling it that. They're not defining it that way, but their information that they're putting out clearly shows that that's what it is, and they're not addressing it. Like, they're trying to twist their narratives to fit into it, but the information they're releasing, and there's been a lot of it in the last 6 months, clearly shows that there's like that connection is becoming so blatant in your face that, like I said, with the moon and the gamma rays and the whole magical ability the moon has to magically transmute cosmic rays into gamma rays and magnify them by 100 times. When they have to come up with this kind of convoluted ridiculousness to explain something, but through their mainstream rhetoric, it's becoming laughable. It's really, because it's a stretch. Like, it's a serious stretch for them, obviously. So physically, I wanna talk about the physical, and I want to talk about the emotional here. I want to really kind of get into this conversation. We've multiple times, we have this conversation quite often. There's been a lot of shit coming up for a lot of people, physically, mentally, emotionally, especially over the last 3-4 weeks. And it's hard sometimes. Like, Ann and I have, I don't know how many fucking conversations on this topic, and it's like, how do you discern between, for example, here in Europe, we're roasting our asses off. It's so fucking hot where we are, and has been for unrelentingly for weeks, literally weeks, that you get to a point where you're saying, okay, well, I've got these physical symptoms, but how much of that is just literally the heat? The heat is so extreme that your body starts literally having weird reactions to shit. Versus, and to the other as well, like, obviously we've got areas, like there's a friend of mine who said he's up in northern Quebec, and it's just like, we're freezing. It's so fucking cold. I can't feel my feet right now. It's August. I'm freezing. So it's hard to discern what is a symptom being caused by weather extremities, like extreme humidity, extreme heat, extreme cold, etc., versus what is not normal. How do you define not normal? I don't know. How do we define? I don't even know how we fucking define not normal. but a lot of shit's been coming up. So one of the things, and we've talked about this umpteen times, with the heat, the hot flashes, where all of a sudden your body is just roasting, you're sweating, it's not, we've had the ongoing joke, yes, Maury, I know. It's like, oh, you chicks, you're just getting old. It's that time of your life when you're going through menopause. Except that, like we said, it's been 28-year-old men going through it, 30-year-old men, 16-year-old girls. So therefore you have to sit there and go, okay, this is not a menopausal symptom of a hot flash. There's something else going on here. So I had this conversation this morning with Anne, going, okay, Anne, I don't know, seriously, fucking help me here. Because for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been getting these massive hot flashes. And I turned around and said, okay, is this menopause? Is this menopause? Like, seriously, is that what this is? Is this menopause? Except that the heat comes from the back of my neck. The back of my neck. And it literally, if you can imagine, it's like all of a sudden I get a heat, and it's like the whole back of my neck starts to heat up. And with it comes a wave of like almost nausea, almost not quite nausea, because it's not that, I wouldn't put it in that strong of a term, but that kind of all of a sudden, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. Yeah, Deb, and that's what Ann said to me. That's not menopause. That's not menopause like hot flashes. That is way different.
I'm going to have to interject. Let me interject.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm the queen of hot flashes. So mine started at 47, and that's how mine started, Danny. And in fact, when they started, I thought I was dying. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did not even know how to wrap my head around it because I was not sleeping. They were waking me up at night. But I'm going to also add in that they have changed. And a normal hot flash will start kind of more down in your core.
In the core.
Now, these hot flashes are coming from like right here, from me, like out the back side, like right there up. So it's real similar to what you're talking about. And then it just spreads. It's like.
No, this is quite literally, Dawn. I mean, literally the base of my skull, the back of my neck, the heat goes up first.
Yeah, mine goes, yeah, it goes up.
And then my whole body just gets like very sick feeling, really, really sick feeling.
Because it's so intense. It's the intensity. Yeah, that's what it is.
That one Sunday, remember we were talking about this profuse sweating?
Yeah.
Profuse sweating and that nearly nauseous feeling? Yeah, I went through that. I still remember it.
And that's just it. When guys are going through it too, and I was talking to Nick about it today, and he had a couple of times, 2 weeks ago, he was going through it a couple of times, and he was like, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. That feeling of like the heat comes on, but then you feel sick, like just weak. It's like almost like getting smacked with the flu, but you get it in about 45 seconds. You've gone from being perfectly fine to, oh my God, I've got the flu. Somebody just shoot me now.
So do you think it's the radiation? Do you think this could be radiation, babe?
That is my big question, Dawn. That is my big question, because we've never seen in our lifetime, we've never seen cosmic rays in incoming radiation like what we're seeing now, according to what the data we can collect, according to the data that we have access to and we can collect. So when we're talking about this kind of stuff happening, that's where again we kind of go, okay, well, what is it? So like today, like I said, I didn't even look at the geomagnetics until 6 o'clock tonight. I was away from the computer for a good portion of the day. And I had several of those moments where I'm like woozy, like just I feel woozy. I'm wow. And at one point it was jokes. I jumped up from my desk here, went to the front room to go talk to Nick, and before I could sit on the couch, I was like walking in his room, going, "Oh, I'm all dizzy. Oh, I'm not going to make it to the couch," and like plopped down on the couch, like boom, and then sat there and was like, oh, that's just great. I can like hear my blood pressure in my ears right now. Like, oh, that was a close one. That's a close one. Like I almost passed out. No reason whatsoever.
Yeah, 30-year-old guy here, and I swear it must be a combination of like the cosmic radiation and the brutal heat if you have it in your area. Because like, I think the combination of those two things, like, randomly I'll just get like, feel like I got hit over the head and just suddenly drained of all energy.
Yeah, and that's everyone I've been speaking to in Europe. Anyway, I'm going to use Europe as an example because I talk to a lot of people here. Drained. That you said it. Drained. Now, how much is that is heat? Yeah, we all know like summertime can be really draining. If it's really hot for an extended period of time, it is draining. But right now, I'm talking like it's drained. Like,
yeah, this is different.
Drained. Like you're not even running on fumes anymore. It's like if you can get your ass off the couch, good luck with that.
Danny, this morning, I went to bed around maybe 11. Woke up at 2, went back to bed. Woke up at like 7:15, which is unusual for me because I'm like either like 4, 5, somewhere around there, like it. But I woke up. I'm like, yes, I got energy. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. Around like, I had my breakfast and that. Around like 11, like 10:30, 11, like. I felt drained, my hip was hurting, it was like, okay, this is not normal. Like I should feel recharged and could go all day, you know what I mean?
No, I get, and Earl, that was the next thing I was going to talk about was, again, going back to the whole joint pain stuff. And that's, I get a lot of people talking about back pain, hip pain, knees, a huge amount, and unexplained pain, like the kind of thing like where you just wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, why the fuck does my shoulder hurt that bad? I didn't do anything. Why the hell does my ankle feel like it's broken in 4 places when I have done nothing to it? This is the kind of stuff. Yeah, Clive, drinking water. Okay, so that's one of the things. When we talk about heat, of course, we have to watch for dehydration. And we've talked about dehydration here. The fact that that's one of these symptoms that we keep coming up to that no one, or not no one, let's say a vast majority of people who are drinking tons of water and doing all the things they should be doing for good hydration still feel completely dehydrated. Your skin shows signs of it. I actually looked down on my legs today and was like, my skin on my legs is showing signs of extreme dehydration. And I'm chugging water. I'm literally drinking ridiculous and doing salt, taking lots of increased my salt levels significantly. Okay.
And Danny, my foot that's falling, right? My feet are falling. One's way more swollen than the other. I went to doctors. They still can't figure out what the frick is going on because it's like water, like water in my feet. Like they say it's because I'm not moving around as much, but I don't feel it should be that. Like it should be gone down by now. I mean, I had a blood clot, like, so,
yeah,
as they say, but to me, it should have been like, once the clot's gone, it should be like, going, circulating as normal. But it's not doing that. It's quite perplexing and weird.
Yeah, swelling is one of those things too. Like literally, I've had swelling in my hands, and same thing. You go, okay, it's edema because it's hot. That's what it can be, but it's not just like that. There's a feeling to this that there's a same thing. It's not a singular symptom. If it's a singular symptom, we can come up with a reason. But when we're having multiple different symptoms come across, and that exhaustion is one of them, where you can wake up in the morning and feel absolutely great, and like literally within 2 hours be like someone has just flicked the off switch, and you can't concentrate. Extreme, yes, exactly, Anita. Brain fog, so bad. I was trying to say something today to Nick, and I could not get a word out to the point he was laughing at me, and I was just like, I give up. And I don't remember what the word was, but the word was something simple, basic, like pork chop or potato. Like it wasn't like some big, deep, convoluted astrophysics terminology. It was like, no, it was a fucking word and would not fall out of my mouth. Could not make it come out. And that extreme brain fog, and it comes and goes in waves. And the same thing, like I always try to play devil's advocate. I always try to look on both sides of stuff and go, okay, it's really, really hot today. It's really humid today. Is there, stuff going on? Do we have like a really high pressure system, low pressure system, these kinds of things? But again, when it's across the board with a lot of people, yeah, Linda just said, I'm finding myself having to read, stop chatting. Find myself having to reading comprehension issues lately. Never been an issue before. Yeah, same. And that's that part of that brain fog. I was reading a paper on gamma rays. Okay, which is a difficult subject to get your brain into. I get it. But this shouldn't have been that difficult. It wasn't a scientific study. It was an article in a magazine. And I literally had to reread several of the paragraphs 3-4 times because I couldn't make my brain take it in. Like the information was, I was like, you get halfway through the paragraph and realize you're thinking about dinner tonight. And you're reading the words, but your brain's not taking it in because you're off.
D, when you said that, it just made me think of, when something just bounces off.
Yep, it just bounces off.
And it's like, what the fuck? Because I've had that happen. Like you said, basic names or something basic. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's been in here. It's been in my collective, your field for years. Yep. And all of a sudden, it's like, I completely can't get it going in here. I can't get this going.
Yeah. Well, Jim, and that's okay. So, Jim, that's one of the questions I always bring up. And it's like I say, if it's a singular symptom, then we can look at a singular symptom. So, for example, brain fog. And we can look at it and say, okay, is it GMO foods, all these pesticides? Is it one of... But again, GMO foods are not across the board around the world. Same thing with pesticide use.
But chemtrails
certain pesticides, they're not the same though, hon. They're not the same around the world, and they change all the time. And we haven't had a chemtrail here in 3 weeks. Have not seen a chemtrail in 3 weeks yet. Okay, so again, it's not just a singular symptom. It's not a singular, like physical pain is one of these symptoms. The brain fog, complete and utter exhaustion that just comes up and smacks you across the back of the head like a 2x4.
That exhaustion is awful. Like I've had to like pull out some serious like tricks I learned in retail, like just like keep moving so you don't get in trouble, so you can get shit done. I've had to have that mentality where it's like, oh, okay, just keep moving, like just move and you'll get it done eventually somehow.
I'll get through this if I just keep moving. Yeah, and that's just it. And it's
like I begin to think like, what's wrong with me? Is this what happens when you turn 30? Like you all of a sudden just like have no motivation.
Oh, darling, wait till you hit 50. No, but this is what I'm saying. But again, this is across the board. Again, it's not a certain age group. It's not a certain demographic. It's not a certain area of the world. It's across the board, and we can't really change. I can't. I mean, I've been looking at this shit for a couple of years now, and you can't find a defining line where you can say, okay, well, this person is experiencing and this person isn't because this person's 50, this person's 20, or this person's a man, this person's a woman, or this person is in Europe and this person is in Australia. It just doesn't work that way. There's no defining pieces to put it together, which is why I kind of come back to the whole, like, is it a frequency thing? So when we talk about cosmic rays, these are frequencies coming in. They're energies coming in. They're literally everything that is energy. Everything is energy. Everything has a frequency. So is that the common factor of why some people feel it and some people don't? Is it certain people are on a certain frequency, and if the energy wave coming in is in that range of frequency, it just knocks you sideways? I don't know. Because we have no way of measuring that. Like, we have, like, literally, where do you go to find the fucking information? Like, could somebody tell me what the frequency of those radio waves were? Well, we can. We can look at them. Like, well, no, we can't, because literally, I'm not joking when I say it's off the charts on Corona today. Off the charts. So I don't even know what the frequencies were that they were hitting.
Well, and also none of this has ever happened before. Like, humanity is getting bombarded with energy rays and things that we've never had to deal with before. So
that we know of.
That we know of. That we know of.
Which brings up, and I'm going to go there as I roll a cigarette. I've had this feeling, even as a little kid, but especially as a teenager. When you read history books or you watch a movie, and it's, you know, a book or a movie that takes place in the olden times, you know, like the 1600s, the 1800s, etc. And the representation that always comes across is, in olden times, people were very primitive. And by primitive, I don't mean like cavemen. I mean primitive as in they didn't have the scientific learning. They didn't have schooling. They didn't have all these things. So people were very simple. They lived. And we got told in school things like, well, antibiotics weren't invented until here. So everyone died before then. Obviously, they didn't if people are still alive. Modern sewage, modern water treatment and sewage treatment is the reason why life is so much better, and how everything got so much better in the 1900s is when we began to understand and kind of like this kind of biology and how we have to, you know, treat our sewage so that it gets away so people don't get sick. So history tries to always portray that back then people were primitive. They didn't have all these, they didn't understand how to do this. And we know on one factor of, like, for example, medicine, we know it's bullshit. Because herbalists and healers have been healing people for thousands of years, hence the fact that we're all still here. If they couldn't heal it, we'd all be dead. Right? I mean, sorry, but that's a fact of life. How many times have we cut ourselves and gone, oh, I have an infection, gee, I better go to a doctor and get an antibiotic? Right? So if they didn't have a way of healing that shit, the whole population of the planet would have been wiped out. We know, and the more we research, we know that these guys knew how to heal shit. Naturally, without pharmaceuticals and big pharma to, you know, take your money, they knew how to heal it. When we look at, for example, and I used the example I was talking to Anne earlier, Roman times, they had sewage, they had plumbing, and they knew how to, like, run the shit away from the bed, and they knew where to run it, and they knew how to put things out. They set up even things to the point of, like, in some of the areas of Africa where they found carbon fucking filtering being used, and they hypothesized it was for dirty fucking water. Hello, thousands of years ago. So when they tell us that it was all very primitive, in my head as a kid was always like, no, I don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense. It does not make any fucking sense.
Like, we still don't know how to make Damascus steel.
Well, no, they do. I have a Damascus steel knife in my kitchen right now, actually. They do. It's a very hard and difficult thing to do, and there's certain types of Damascus steel that to turn it certain colors, etc., that they don't know because the recipes have been lost. These are things that they did know, though. You're right. You're absolutely right. They knew how to forge Damascus steel that was like the most amazing. These swords are still around hundreds of years later, right? So I'm going to bring up the concept of a reset again. Was there a time period when we had all this knowledge and there was some kind of a reset that they basically wiped out all that knowledge? So that's when you had things like the central heated homes that were fucking heated from geothermal heating in Rome. In England, they had central heating in some of the Roman homes in England. So that's where Bath, the city of Bath, where they had the hot baths and the hot springs. Does it matter? Was there a reset something that happened where they just went and reset it and, I don't know, wiped the minds of people so that they no longer remembered what these things were for or how to maintain them?
Indeed, what you just mentioned there.
Like, okay, Lori, exactly. Or like today when they basically kill all the people who have the knowledge, right? Pol Pot, Cambodia, what did he do when he took over? First of all, he took everyone's guns. Second of all, he went and killed everyone who was a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, anyone who had any higher learning. And anyone pretty much over the age of 50 was killed outright. Because then you have a less educated, simpler population, which you can then indoctrinate to believe anything. I was one country, and that's in our era. Like, we know that happened. We know how many fucking people Pol Pot killed.
But Danny, the question is, do they need to do that today with all the chemical warfare we are under attack every day, you know? Like the fluoride, the other stuff, you know?
Lithium in the air and in the water and fluoride and
yeah, I mean it's getting worse. I mean, think about this, especially the lithium. When they all are into these new electric cars, they need lithium, right? If you dig out that shit, I mean, if you convert the old industry they had for coal, converted to lithium to get it, I mean, the stuff gets in the air, right? Tesla burns up, the stuff gets into the air, right? Like nanoparticles and shit like that.
Yeah, but not even that. They're literally putting lithium in the water on purpose. We know they're putting lithium in the water on purpose to keep, like it's like an antipsychotic to keep people drugged down and stupid and emotionless. What is lithium overdoses? Cause people to have completely no emotions. No emotions whatsoever. And then you sit there and go, oh, well, hello.
Well, to be an asshole.
Portion of the people.
To be an asshole as a empath, that would be actually welcome for me.
Yeah,
sorry.
But you want to be able to control it yourself. Therein lies the trick, right?
Hey, Danny, the first time I ever went into rehab, that's the first drug they ever put me on. So I think
It's classic.
About 19, I think. And they put me on lithium, and it became toxic in my body. So I don't know. I say to myself, I believe we live in the land of the bots, right? And we're just a part of it, but we live in their land. Because I find I'll go back to certain things and I'll go, well, isn't that interesting that lithium works for so many, it didn't work for me. And, you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, that's always been one of my questions. That's why I've brought up.
Can you hear me?
Your internet is real sketchy, Dawn. You're going up and down. Or mine is. I don't know. It might be mine.
No, it's me. I'm just saying, I differentiate between an organic portal, which is a bot, or a living soul. So I kind of feel like us as living souls. I mean, look at our group and how awesome our group is. I mean, look at all the shit, and yet we're not affected. So I don't know.
She says as she falls sideways on her chair.
But you know what I mean. It's like I just think that we are not the majority here.
No, and that was really interesting. And that was when I talked to Alan. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago? Alan James, and he brought up the whole thing of the concept of that there are 60% of the people on Earth are human. And I was like, yeah, no. No. And then, but a few of us had a conversation after. It was like, okay, well, how do you define this? Organic human? I hate using the word organic. Versus genetically created human? I don't know. And then we talk about bots and we bring that, like these are all really kind of terminology that's really difficult to work through, because if I say with a soul or without a soul, people get offended. People also misinterpret what I mean by soul. So let's say spirit, right? Or a higher consciousness connection level. But even that sounds really arrogant to say it that way. But we've had the conversation over the years. We know. You meet someone who is human, who's real. I'm going to use my terminology I've always used. When you meet a real person, you make that eye contact. It's like, I see you. Ah, awesome. I know you. You're like, you know when you meet them. At the same time as when you meet someone who is just literally a complete bot, and you're just like, wow, you are so an NPC. Like, you are just running whatever's on the background program. Like, would you like fries with that? Or
I have had people who had like bot moments. Like, I came like, my mother was trying to mad at me because I like had too much butter on my bread. I was like, and she grabbed my hands for no reason. I'm like, what are you doing? I can, do it. And I'm like, this is weird. She shouldn't be like grabbing my hand and holding my hands, Then she takes the butter. Then she takes the butter and puts it. I'm like, okay, she just had one of those weird bot moments that, like, because it's like she had a mental, like, breakdown, like, of her processes.
Right there, but Earl, okay, right there. We live on a little tiny island. I live on a little tiny fucking island. It's we.
Mm-hmm.
It's like literally, if you were flying over it on a plane and you blink too long, you'd miss it. That's how small the island is that we live on. We have had so many car accidents this week. Now, it's Santa Maria. Yeah, Clive's got the magnifying glass. That's what we need to see Gozo. It's Santa Maria this week, or just went past, which is the biggest festival in Catholicism outside of Christmas and Easter. Gozo is inundated. Like, the population of Gozo goes up by 100% for 5 days. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, guys. Sorry about this. Hold on. Not sure what's going on. I'm losing my voice. Regardless, I have never seen car accidents like we have seen in the last 2 weeks. We've had at least 7 car accidents that have ended up on the news in the last 2 weeks. We drove by one yesterday morning, and somebody had literally hit a tree. We don't have that many fucking trees in Gozo. Seriously, to hit a tree takes some real effort. Car accidents everywhere. It's like when we talked about things like people going on the wrong direction, turning onto the roads, driving in the wrong direction. That is like, there's been a ton of those, and it's gotten worse and worse. We were scrolling through 9gag the other day, which is like a meme joke website. It's a great mindless thing to do when you just really need to not look at the news anymore. And I can't tell you how many videos I've seen in the last couple of days, because everyone's got car cams now, of accidents and near accidents of complete stupidity. Like the kind of thing where you're just like, what is that guy doing? Oh my God, what is he doing? Boom, right into the back of a tractor trailer.
Yeah, I see those on Facebook from time to time. It's like, wow, these people should not have a license. But
this is what I'm saying. This is new. This is above and beyond. This is like, kind of like the confusion. And we're talking about this, that we're sitting in our houses and we have those moments where all of a sudden you can't articulate a word. Is this what's happening when people are driving? Like, all of a sudden, something just almost turns off, and they stop paying attention, and the next thing you know, they're
like leaving the kids in the car. We're having this happen so much. I'm seeing this every week.
Everywhere.
That's a great example. And the other thing too is people are shooting at people all the time now. Like, just one, I say about a mile over from me is 1960, and now it's like the wild, wild west. I mean, it's almost every day. So what are we seeing?
Well, okay, so the shootings, exactly. Literally, there was a shooting here in Malta last week, and it was just, shootings have become a lot more common in Malta in the last decade. It's gotten kind of bad down where Clive is. Not where I am. I'm on the small island where I'm safe. But there was an incident in a restaurant just last week or the week before where someone literally got into a fight with like a server or a bartender and pulled out a gun and shot them in broad daylight. And then I'm reading a story, literally someone else was talking about it, saying the same thing happened like in the States. It was like someone yelled at their server and like shot the server. And it was like in a restaurant in the States. Same thing. And like, you didn't make my sandwich right. Boom. And or they took too long to get a sandwich. So but it's not just no patience. It's not just people are agitated. Okay, we know what it's like. We lose our shit. God knows I've been doing that a lot lately. There's something more to it because we're talking about massive amounts of car accidents. People driving on the wrong way on a fucking highway. What does it take to get on a major highway driving in the wrong direction? Like, you got to be seriously fucking confused or suicidal to do something like that. People leaving kids in the car. How many stories of it? There's been like a shit ton of stories like that. These are things that people don't do. People don't forget their child is in the back seat of a car unless your mind is so all of a sudden discombobulated. You can't think. What was that, Zero? I couldn't hear you, hon.
Oh, just the words like when your mind's bombarded or like a system overload just kind of seems like.
Yeah, but what is the cause that the system is overloaded? Normally that happens when you have way too many things happening, way too many inputs. But not.
Okay. Are we talking about radiation? Are we talking about cosmic rays then?
Yes.
Again, do we have to bring this up and say, are we going right back to the basics and saying the amounts of radiation coming in, is that?
I mean, Cliff,
I just think it's worth looking at. I mean, because like this is happening on a cosmic, like on an Earth scale. Like this is happening to all of us, whether, and the other things we haven't really measured before in quantities we haven't ever seen before. And
it kind of reminds me of that Sandra Bullock movie that's on Netflix. Where
I need to watch that movie.
Where there's this one woman, and for some weird reason, because of whatever going on, whatever creature's messing with their mind, she steps into a burning car and sits down in a seat, closes the door. And it's like, it's almost that weird level shit that, it's not there yet, but it's almost,
But that's the kind of insanity we're seeing right now. Like, we're seeing people doing things that they would not do.
Let's add in something here.
Yeah.
Isn't it true?
I gotta go.
Ciao, Earl.
Bye, Earl. Isn't it true that when magnetics increase, that can actually affect memory? Is that not true?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we know that. Well, we've talked about either high and low geomagnetic, like the 0 kp or the extreme highs kps, affects your cognition. It affects, we know that it causes people to have psychotic breakdowns. We know that it causes depression. We know that it causes suicide. Those things all jump extremely. So exactly, it's a 1-2 punch. If we're talking about things, for example, like cosmic rays coming in, ultraviolet radiation coming in at extreme levels, but we're also talking about geomagnetic fluctuations that are just crazy. And at the same time, with the geomagnetics, you also have the electrical fields. So we can't forget that. Electrical fields are also part and parcel of that. One doesn't move. The geomagnetics don't move without the electrical fields moving with them. So, yeah, but we have to look at what is the effect on the nervous system, right? What is the effect on the nervous system?
But yeah, we're seeing people getting wiped. Like, I watched a man this man was best friends with my parents, and the grandkids were with him. My parents, when they first got married, hung out with this couple, and he had his grandkids one day, and he got up and he went to go to work and to drop them off, and he forgot they were in the car, and they died. And this man never forgave himself, and he died of cancer. So I'm telling you, he racked his brain. It never ended. Like, how could that possibly happen? And this was like 8 years ago. So it's happening so much now that something is literally wiping their memories.
So I go back to the what can we do? What can we do? And one of the big things is, of course, rest. Do you know what I mean? Giving ourselves adequate time to rest. And that if you have the ability, obviously not everyone, if you work in a 9-to-5 job, you don't have the ability to just go say, I need to go have a lie down for an hour. But when we can, just trying to take as much rest, like when you feel that coming on, it's like rest. I was talking to Jenny, who was over and had a coffee here today, and we were talking, I was saying about things like, maybe it means even things like on the psychological, emotional level, not physical, the psychological, emotional, getting a new hobby, coming up with something that you can do to take your mind out of the downward spiral, because we haven't even talked about the emotional. The emotional has been really bad for a lot of people. I've had some major downward spirals where all of a sudden you're just literally so depressed that you're just like, I have no words. I can't deal with this anymore. Like, the shit in this world has gone so insane. I fucking can't deal with it. That we take up coloring, take up painting, take up macrame, take up reading comic books, pick up like a series. I gave Jen the first in a series of books. The rest of it's on the rest of the books are in the UnFuckers library by a guy named Stephen Bruce. They're just light reading. They're fun. They're funny. They're enjoyable. You don't have to look for the deeper meaning. You don't have. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we just need that break. Sometimes we just need to go and say, I'm going to make cookies today, and I'm going to make 5 dozen. If that's what it takes to just take myself out of this space and go somewhere else. Right? Lol, John, you're very funny. You're very, very funny, John. Sharp things. I have all sharp things in my house. I got a lovely sharpening steel gifted to us, and Nick has sharpened every knife in the house to the point that you can shave with it now. So I've had to warn all the kids, if you're cutting up an apple, you're going to be real careful, because the knives are real fucking sharp again. Changes. Now, this is a lot of the other thing I want to talk about. Okay, so hold on. Go back to what we can do before I get off sidetracked, because I have the attention span of a fucking gnat at the moment. It's things like drinking enough water, eating enough good food, and eat what you want. Like, I know it's really, really easy for us to get caught up in these diets and get like we've got, I got to do this, I can't do that. Obviously, if eating what you want means McDonald's, possibly not your best way to go. But it's like, I said to Nick today, he was like, what do you want? I was like, fruit. I need fucking fruit. And he came home with like some field strawberries and some blueberries and some nectarines and some peaches. And I literally sat at the counter and just literally filled my face. It was just like, fruit. Oh, this fruit is awesome. Listen to your body. What are you craving? If you're craving specifics, get it. Like, go get whatever it is that your body's craving. Try to listen to those kind of things. The other thing is, like I'm going to order some of the charcoal, the biochar charcoal. I'm going to try and order some in for myself, for my family, and start taking it regularly as a detox. I'm going to up my C60. So I've just literally been thinking about that today, going, yeah, I'm on a real minimum dose, and I'm going to up my C60 and start and get everyone in my family to up their levels, because it's like, got to do something to try and protect from this kind of stuff. And yeah, Jules, totally banging on a drum kit, music, singing. I was singing the other day in the kitchen, just singing my heart out, because it was like, I'm just going to sing, because if I just sing, then I can get through this mountain of dishes I had to do by hand. Whatever you got to do.
Or dance, or dance around.
Dance. Charcoal
Yeah.
capsules. Good on you, Clive. Good on you. Good on
posted,
I always have 70s and 80s music playing.
I posted this
Yeah,
quote on my
definitely.
Facebook wall that was like, "You're tired. You're tired because you haven't been doing enough of the things that light your soul on fire." Like, and I really like that. I was like, I've been feeling very drained recently, but maybe the antidote to that is to pick up again some of those things that like light that little spark in you.
I bought some new markers today. I went into Lidl and they had my favorite branded gel pens on sale, and I was like, and I bought a coloring book last week. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna color when I get everything else done first, because I'm so fucking behind. I'm so fucking behind.
Just think when you said that just now, Dee, and Aaron is like, yeah, Aaron, like we talked about, yeah, the blanket forts with the crayons and whatever, yeah. And it's like, fuck everything else for a while. I'm going into my little blanket fort here and do my creative thing, along with
Yeah,
I need.
I was accused of being like a child, and I actually take that as a compliment.
Yeah. So do I. Sometimes you just got to eat cookies in the blanket fort and color in your coloring book and laugh at cartoons.
That's right. And hey, and at least we have the capacity to do that, and we don't shroud ourselves under the unity label.
No,
And-
Dawn, don't go there. Don't go there. We're not.
I know. I'm just saying we're the real deal, and authenticity is paramount. And part of that is bringing back that childlike energy, because that is who we are.
Yeah, I agree. And if I
Yeah,
was
thank
to
you,
say,
Dawn.
if you
Yeah,
look
Dawn,
for
thank you
something
for
fun to
being
watch,
like energy. Yeah.
do you want to watch something that's fun? Like I just mentioned kids' cartoons. My kids just started rewatching Phineas and Ferb again. I highly recommend that if you just need something lighthearted to watch that's going to make you laugh, and you go watch Phineas and Ferb. There's like 3.5 seasons of it. You will laugh your ass off, and it's just good old-fashioned fun. The way comics and cartoons should be. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just fun and creative and wonderful. Sometimes you just have to do that shit.
My go-to is Adventure Time.
Oh, see, I can't stand Adventure Time. My kids love Adventure Time. I can't stand it.
I like how random and crazy it is.
Two of the characters' voices, as soon as I hear it, I'm just like,
There is one of them. One character's voice. I will turn off the episode if.
tee hee hee. Yeah. One of the things, the other thing is again, I'm just so many people I've spoken to in the last, especially the last month, but the last 6 months, but especially this past month, is that urge to go somewhere, to get up, to fucking drop, get whatever you are, whatever you're doing, to change it. I like literally get up and move to another state, another province, another country, to leave that situation you're in. And it's like just have to. And I think that is really, really symptomatic too. There's a lot of us are thinking about moving, are wanting to move. And it's like getting out of the cities. It seems like everyone I talk to is like, I need to get the fuck out of this city. I need to be, or trees. How many here have a sudden craving, or may not even call it sudden, but let's say an extreme craving for trees, to green stuff. Just want to be in the green, want to be in the trees, want to be somewhere that is just surrounded by like green trees in nature. This is one of these things. That is a calling. Like everyone, like chats, like me, yes, me. There's something more to that. There's when you have everyone is just like, okay, I'm done with this. No, Zero, the whole thing you said about going back to those things that inspired you. But one of the other symptoms that I'm talking to everyone is like, the things that used to inspire us no longer inspire us. It's the search for something new. And Ann and I have said it over and over and over again. I'm like, bored now. Bored. I want something new. Give me something new. And I don't mean new as in a new form of art or a new form of music. I mean that want something new. Give me something new to inspiring, to give me that oomph to, because everything has become boring. It's become,
Yes.
it's like cooking food.
Yes.
It's like, and I love to cook. Don't get me wrong. I love to fucking cook. Cooking food has become boring. And it's like, literally today, are you going to talk about fucking brain farts today? Got pork chops. I've got rice. I've got like steamed cauliflower and broccoli. And I'm like, oh, I got to do something. Have mushrooms. Oh, good. So I sauteed up mushrooms and onions and garlic with a little bit of Scotch whiskey and some garam masala. And oh, it smelled so wonderful. And I served dinner and forgot the mushrooms on the stove. We never ate them. That's a brain fart for you. You go through all the effort of trying to be creative, and then you completely forget to even serve that part of the dinner. There's this, yeah, Deb, I think so. Deb just said, we've been reliving the same thing over and over, and we're burnt out from the rinse and repeat cycle. I think so. I think that that is part of it, and that there is an awareness that we've now got. We've come to a new level of awareness that maybe we've never had before. And it is like a burnout. And it is like, and is it that rinse and repeat cycle? Again,
Ugh.
back again,
Okay.
oh, back again, oh fuck, I'm back again, oh my God. Is that what it is? That deeper seated, like we've come out of the, come through the veil enough, veil, you know what I mean? Retained, somehow gotten back to some more primal memory, and just enough to understand that we're bored with the same shit over and over again.
Honestly, you want to know what all this reminds me of? It reminds me of me being bored the other day playing Skyrim for like, the 30,000th time, but still really bored of it, And it's kind of like day-to-day life kind of feels like I'm just another character in a Skyrim game, It's like, yeah, I could have fun. I could go over there and do that, and I know what that's going to do. But and I could go over here and do this, but it's just like I've been here before, done all this before.
Exactly.
Nothing really new, and I'm kind of bored right now.
That is a really, really good analogy, and I love the fact that you actually said Skyrim. My eldest daughter pulled up her Skyrim account this week, and it was like, again, not loading, and she's just like, everyone else's account loads, mine doesn't load, I'm just going to start over again. And so her and the kids are sitting around like discussing, okay, well, what character will you choose this time? Because the same thing, our family, we've played through Skyrim so many times now and done, and I was teasing her she should be a Khajiit this time. And she just kind of looked at it and she was just like, no, it's like, okay, to set up a new account again and start all over again. I'm like, and then the next day she decided, and she did. She started a new account, started building up a new character, creating her character. But there was a whole sense, you could just see by watching her play, as much as she enjoys the video game so much, you could tell she was bored. She was bored. It was like,
Yeah, even so much that like day-to-day life has seemed like I'm in my own video game sort of. I'm like, okay, here we go. Day in the life of this video game, I'm like, it's kind of starting to get boring. Like,
I wouldn't say it's getting boring. What I noticed from some of the boards on the internet, a lot of people actually can't get themselves to play anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they bought shit tons of stuff on sales and they have it laying around, don't get the drive to actually play it, and spend rather time reading stuff on the internet or what else instead of playing the stuff they bought. Because it's getting boring, right?
But
or it's like a job or something.
And that's just it. But it's again, it's what I call, it's one of those greater symptoms. It's a greater symptom. It's we can look at it and say, oh, well, you're bored because you've played, Skyrim is an example in our house. We've had Skyrim on our computers or the Xbox or whatever for literally, I can't even tell you how many years. How long has Skyrim been out? Probably that long. My boys started playing Skyrim. I think Kale started playing Skyrim with someone redoing all the reading for him when he was about 5, right? It's not just the boredom because you've played the game too many times. The boredom is of a higher level. It's like, it's symptomatic of reality in itself.
Yeah, that's actually the point. That's actually the point I was trying to draw. It was less about being bored of Skyrim and more about, like, if you play Skyrim like over 30 or 40 times, you know that when you start a new character, like yes, you get the sense that you're in an open world full of possibilities, but you kind of know what's going to happen. You kind of know, like, and it feels like a video game. And my greater point was that, like, life outside the game feels like that. Like I could go over there and work and do this, but I feel like I already know what that kind of game is, and life doesn't really feel that real right now. And like I'm just waking up in the same exterior space. That kind of what it feels like to me.
No, I agree. And that's, again, Ann and I had this conversation this morning. It's just like you go, something to inspire me, something to invigorate something new. And here's the thing. So, like, for example, for me personally, I'm in the middle of about to launch my new body line of products. I got 2 of them are up on the shop already. I've got it all done. Like, it's all even written up in the shop and ready to be launched. All I have to do is do the final step, like, like designing the labels for them and little things like that. I couldn't do it today. I love making my products. I love making my products and putting out, but I literally couldn't force. I was like, it was like an excuse. And do you want to chat? Please tell me you want to chat, because I need someone to take me away. And so I have an excuse to not go and start working on stuff. I just needed to sit on my ass. And then Jenny was happy enough to come over right after Ann. So I didn't have to do anything all afternoon. I just sat and chatted all afternoon. It means I didn't get anything else done, but but that's the kind of, that feeling of just like the things that normally inspire you, the things that you normally really, really enjoy. A lot of people are really, it just doesn't feel the same anymore. It doesn't feel the same. You do it, but there's an emptiness to it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's an emptiness to the background. Even coloring, like I said, I bought a new coloring book with all these beautiful mandalas, and I opened up the book 3 times. Markers are on the kitchen table right now, and was like, oh, I would pick one. Yeah, no, not right now. And just fucking close the book again.
Hey, girl, I deal with that. I've been dealing with that. You described it so perfect. The only thing that saves my ass is these animals. I swear I would float away, literally, if I did not have them. I'm so with you on that. You hit it right on the head, man. That is right on.
And that is one of those, there's more to this. Every time I come back to this and say, like, we can look at the logical, dare I say it, 3D explanations. We can look at the ultraviolet and the cosmic rays and the geomagnetics, and we can look at the chemtrails, and we can look at the lithium in the water, and we can look at all these things. But there's a deeper issue here, it's not just what's going on politically around us, financially and physically. It's deeper than that. There's this, like I say, the push to want to get up and move somewhere else, get up and leave. It's deeper than just that. And someone said, it was months ago, I was talking to someone, they were like, oh, Danny, that's just because you can't stay in any one spot longer than like a couple of years and you get, the flighty feet. It's different this time. I
had a random impulse this week to get up everything and move to Colorado. And I never do that shit. I knew someone that lived there. I was like, hey, I can just bring all my stuff, stay there for a week. Not really like, but bring all my stuff as if I were going to move, you know, and like, I can stay there for a week. Like, I'm like, I don't know where that was coming from.
But that's that deeper yearning. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's, on a level, when you recognize, and whether we want to call it this reality of whatever this fucking reality is, on all levels, we can see the wrongness. On all levels, we can see that it doesn't fit us. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't smell good, taste good, sound good. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's just seems to be nothing that you just sit there and it's like, no, whatever your situation is, whether you're living in a city, whether you're at a certain job, whether you're in a certain place in a city, all of a sudden it's that, no, I need to leave this. I need to get up and completely move myself, not move myself, I need to remove myself from this place, situation, on all levels, and move to somewhere else new, and create something new. And that's across the board, everyone I'm talking to right now. And the other thing that comes across the board is that feeling of everyone saying, it's like, again, it feels like we're in this pause where it's like you just so desperately need to move. Something needs to move, something needs to change, something has to, and yet you feel stuck. You feel stuck in the situation, stuck in the place, stuck in the job, stuck in the house, stuck in the whatever it is. And that's the other thing I'm getting from a lot of people. And I'm talking people who are not awake. I've had conversations in the last couple of weeks with local people here who've come out and actually said these words. It just feels like I'm stuck and I just can't get anything to move. And it's a huge one for a lot of people. And it's symptomatic. It's what I call the greater symptoms of things going on.
Isn't that feeling kind of like...
Say real quick, D,
hold
on that.
Hold on, wait. Bossy started. Bossy, you first.
Isn't that feeling kind of like we all fed up with this world right now, this hamster or rat race every day, right? We have to take care of so many shit things. And I mean, I always had this dream to move like to some sort of a hobbit shire, you know what I mean? Like comfy living with the people around, you know, like working together maybe on the fields or whatever, and then take care of your own garden or your own stuff, you know, like having, I mean, it's a simple life, right? But you have everything every day, something to do, something to take care of, you know what I mean? But it's not like too complicated. It's rather easy, nice, and neat, you know, and not so stressful as the stuff around us, right?
But it's interesting, Bossy, that you say that, because that is the almost overwhelmingly the number one dream, if you will, that I'm hearing from everyone. That is what I'm hearing from everyone. I want to go live in like a little hobbit house. I want to live in a little cottage. I want to be out in the countryside. I want to have my own garden.
Yes.
I want to have my own food.
Yes.
I want to be in that green, and that's what I was saying. I want to be in the green. I want there to be trees. I want there to be green plants. I want it to be simplified. Oh, Joanna, yes, simplified. And that is the overwhelming. Everyone it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter if people are in the States, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Everyone I'm speaking to that's the dream right now. Is like they're all wanting the same thing. I just want this little place that can be I don't need a big place. I don't want a fast car. I don't want a big mansion of a house. I don't want a fancy pool in the backyard. I want just a little place with my own little yard where I can have, where my dogs can run free in the yard, and I can have my garden, and I can do these simple yet real things. Does that make sense? And that says something to me. Like on the greater whole, when you have whole massive amounts of people talking about that's the same thing that they're all looking for, that has to mean something on a much deeper level. There's a much deeper meaning to this shit. Yeah, Vicky, exactly. Looking for an RV to travel in. That's the other one. People are like, I'm just going to fucking sell everything and get a nice little small RV and just start traveling and just go. Just go and just go travel and just travel and just stop wherever I feel like stopping and do what I feel like doing. And that's the same kind of feeling that a lot of people are talking about.
Yep, well, you just mentioned that freedom of of that. Then that's that's what some of us. I imagine that a lot of us would love to do. Actually, I love to do that. What is it? What we've been talking about? Yeah, we like to be control of our own desk where we're at. We want to be in control of it, and it's like
that's a good point, and maybe that is part of it. That's actually a good point, Star. Is it that you want to live in a space where you control that space and I don't mean control as in controlling, but that space of like you grow your garden.
Yeah.
You are in a space where you can do what you want to do and need to do.
Exactly. Whatever you want to do, and that's just it. It's like it's like how long could you, like if you say you have an RV and you have like whether you're traveling alone or not, and it's like that's it. You can find a spot and stay there if you find the right spot, and it's like have this thing about being ran out of a place because it's a what do you call it? Like part of a forest. It used to be called
government controlled forest. You mean?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the part I don't like is having somebody in their garb come up to me and tell me, no, you cannot, stay here in your RV for any say, how can I put it, either at all or there's a limitation, like you can't be there for more than X amount of days. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, but that's that part of the thing about wanting your own space, your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that to me just seems like true living. Like I'm so tired of this 9-to-5 fast food, electronic screen bullshit reality that is really not living.
I literally today, Anna and I were talking. I was talking to Gail the other day and saying, you have daydreams, right? And I had this daydream of being in a place where it's like, for example, setting up like a market stall and making like a cooperative market stall where it's like you've got your group of people and friends and neighbors and it's like so-and-so's made jam, so they've got their jam on the stall and you've got this kind of stuff and you make it. But it's even when you're selling on the market, it's still like being with your tribe and you're just kind of very feeling good about it. And it's just getting back to doing real things. Sorry, yes, and I think you're right. Doing real things. It's like stepping away from the computers, stepping away from the insane news, stepping away from the insane politics, the insane financial shit, to be able to just do actual real things. And it comes down to, it's the land, right? And it's not about money. And I keep talking about this and saying, money is used to buy the things that we want. But money is just a tool. It's a step to get to where you want to go. I don't need money. I need land. And I think most of us here would agree. It's like money is not what you really want in the end of it. It's you want a piece of land that you can do something, do whatever it is that you want, right? There's land everywhere. And that's one of the things that really get, there's so much land available. And this is when you go to the whole scarcity mindset and the whole globalist control, with the overpopulation, blah, blah, blah. No, that's such a fucking load of shit. There is land everywhere. And I don't mean crappy land in the middle of the desert of Australia or up in northern Canada. I mean, no, there is land everywhere. That's it. It's like all I want is a piece of land. So if anyone out there, especially if you're in England, because I'm seriously looking at coming to England next, England is probably going to end up being our next step, given our current situation here in Malta with the government. Looking at going to England and looking at just that idea of just getting out somewhere small in the countryside, and just start. Just start. Listen, Wales has come up, Clive. Wales has come up several times. Sorry, Bossy, go ahead.
But isn't it interesting that money that was actually like, what do you call it, like a mediator between trades? Like,
Yep.
I can't keep my tons of potatoes all for myself and trade them all over the year. So I sell them and keep what I need and keep the money. But
Yep.
then some asshole invented interest, right? And the moment interest came into the whole game, money became something else, not just like a trade thing. Like, instead of the potatoes, I trade with someone for oranges or something.
Exactly.
It became this tool to enslave us all, because interest. I mean, we live on a finite space, right? Earth is limited. There is no second Earth for now for us, right? So we have only limited stuff. Why can money inflate so much, right? Why can they print so much, and why doesn't it go bad, so to speak? Why is there a family Rothschild that has tons of money and the money didn't go bad over time? It actually accumulated even more and more and more money, while
That's
the money
system
got sucked up from everyone else, right?
Yep. And that's another whole conversation. We're not even going to get into that one tonight, because that's another whole conversation. But yeah, but that's just it. And I've told this story a bunch of times. When we were first in Morocco, and everyone was kind of living in the community kind of area, it was the joke. Everyone made fun of me, because it would be things like, people would come up to Nick and go, "Nick, could you help us? Could you build, we need a desk built." Nick would be like, "Hey, I can build you a desk." And then they would say, "Okay, so how much do you want?" And he'd go, like, "Talk to my business manager," which was me. And I would say, "Okay, you want Nick to build a desk? You're going to supply all the, like, the wood and all that." Yeah. Okay, I want 2 chickens, 10 pounds of potatoes, 5 pounds of carrots, and a couple of pounds of apples. And everyone would laugh at me and be like, "Seriously?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you have a car. I don't. So I don't need money. What does fucking money do? Money doesn't feed my family. The nearest place to go buy fresh chickens and potatoes and carrots is 10 kilometers down the road, which means I have to get on a bus. I don't need the fucking money. I need the food. So get rid of the middleman. If you want Nick to build the desk for you, then it's going to cost you 2 chickens, some potatoes, some carrots, and some apples, because that's what I need. I don't need the fucking money. I want the food to feed the family." And everyone laughed, but it was like, no, that's the way it is. And that's the same thing for me even now. To this day, people will say to me, "I would rather barter with people any day of the week." And I've got a lovely lady here who makes homemade soap, and I barter with her. I gave her a bottle of argan oil. She gave me 3 bars of soap. Awesome. I don't need the money. She didn't need the money. She wanted the argan oil. I wanted the soap. Where the fuck does money enter into it? It doesn't need to. To get back to that kind of a place where we are, where your value is your value. Do you know what I'm saying? Your value is your actual value, a value that you have to offer, whether it's building a desk, making a pie, babysitting some kids, fixing a car. It doesn't matter. It all has value. But the value isn't money. The value never has been money. Money is just a representation of that value. And that's one of the things of, like, getting back to that concept of living in a way where, and I mean, I've lived in places where it's like, like same thing. My one next door neighbors used to have chickens around her house, and she would have extra eggs, and she'd be like, "Awesome. Do you want some eggs?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love some eggs. Do you want some tomatoes? I got extra tomatoes." "Yeah." And I'd give her tomatoes and she'd give me eggs. Worked brilliantly for the whole summer we lived in that house.
I got news for you folks. Going to say real quick, Dee, this is a good example. Money, as we use it, is a mediary, as a priest is a mediary to the so-called God. That's
Yeah.
And the perfect correlation, everybody, the money thing.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
what is any type of middle cloth person, the midi area, the God plus the money?
Yeah, exactly,
trying to catch
exactly,
up on the
Star.
chat.
Exactly, Star. But the money god is literally the government, and the government, or as I like to call them, the local thieves guild, has a problem with you trading work for like resources, right? They will say like, "My God, you did all that cool stuff, but we didn't profit from this." So,
But here's the thing: in the States, there are several small community areas in the States, and I don't mean several as in 5 or 6. I mean several as in hundreds of them in the States that do operate this way. Small little towns.
We're kind of a huge country.
Currency, who've invented their own fucking currencies, and the government doesn't do jack shit. You know why? Because the government can't. And it's like the barter system. Towns who have gone fully on the barter system type thing, going back and forth. The government has made American government has made over the last 10 years little things like, oh, we're going to figure out a taxation system to cover bartering. They never do because you can't. So what do they do? Like, leave them alone. And the thing is, they just don't want them to talk about it. Don't let other people know that you're doing it, but we'll just leave you alone.
They just focus on the big cities. That's why, like, I mean, there's so much open space out here that, like, that's kind of one of the reasons why I like where I live right now. Because, I mean, everyone out here is the kind of person that knows how to do skills. Like, they know how to grow food, how to raise livestock, how to do all those things. And, like, and honestly, I can see myself going back to more of like a tribal, communal kind of environment. And, like, I've never been the kind of person that would want to be like, I'm going to be Mr. off-the-grid self-sufficient. Kind of like, that kind of freaks me out a lot. But I totally would do it if I had like a partner to do it with and figure it out with, because doing that all alone seems a little hard. But like, I would totally, kind of do all that. And I feel like I'm being pushed to go in that route, because if shit hits the fan, like, that's the kind of place you want to be, you know?
And that's just it. Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but I am going to go there. Is, for me, I always look at the undercurrent of the reason why so many people are leaving the cities, are trying to leave the cities, are dreaming about this idealistic living in your own little place where you grow your own food. And that is very much homesteading. Lori, thank you for the word homesteading, etc. Well, shit is getting real. Shit is getting real fast. And like I said, I've gone into pretty hardcore prepper mode and started putting down food and I have water. My last time I counted my water, I have 90 liters of distilled water saved and put aside. Not 90 liters, it's going to take you that far, but it'll take you pretty fucking far. But these are little things. Those are just like little type things. I'm become very, very conscious on all this level of being prepared, getting certain things. I was up stocking my first aid kit again. Yesterday we went into Lidl, which is a big department store or quasi grocery store here. And they had a whole bunch of their first aid stuff, things like just Band-Aids, plasters, bandages, blister seals, things like that. And I went in and I bought like a stack of stuff like this because it's like, no, need to have this shit on hand.
And what's funny is that I feel like I'm going against my programming. Like, a 30-year-old shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. A 30-year-old should be wanting to move into the city to be around, all their peers and be where all the action is. And I just have like no desire.
And I think that's most of us. I think that's most of us have no desire to be in that situation. And I mean, I'd like to hear from everyone who's going to be watching this later on. We're going to watch this on YouTube or on BitChute, etc. I'd love to hear the comments. I'd love to hear what people have to say about this, because it's overwhelming to me, the amount of people. Laura, you asked earlier about like if we're seeing like people who are awake versus asleep, and it's both. I mean, I've had people who are really, really so caught up in living the life in that very programmed thing, who I never would have expected, went out and just bought a 10-acre hobby farm in Sweden. And the words used were, well, need to have a place to bug out to. And they actually used the words fucking, and I was just like, holy shit, did you just fucking say that? Like, this is like, he's in finance. She's a psychologist. Like, we're talking really, really mainstream. So this is the kind of thing that I'm getting across the board, is people are like, no, time to get out of the cities, get somewhere. And a lot of people are willing to do, sounding like, they're willing to do whatever it takes. Like people saying, like, I'm just selling. I'm just going to sell fucking everything. I don't care. It's kind of like, I've just got to go. I don't know, my darlings. I don't know. It's all very strange feeling at the moment. All very, very, very strange.
I'm just going to add out, Aaron, I think, what you were just saying moments ago, it's like, go with definitely what you feel. As long as this is out of the way, you feel something, you just know it. That's how I'm taking this. I'm just going with how I feel. Yeah.
And it's hard, though, and it's even hard to go with how you feel, because, for example, and I just had this conversation with Jenny this morning, and
I don't mean it in a shallow, you know what I mean? When you say that D, I mean it, in a deeper way that's obviously even more so, what do you call it? How can I put it? There's a word. It's even more, crap. It's one of those, it's even more precise, or it's more cute. Maybe that's what I'm looking at. It's more cute. Yeah.
So for me, it's like I said, so I have a real drive to get out of Malta.
Intuitive or something.
Yeah, I have a real drive to get out of Malta. A real drive. And it's been building over the last year, but especially this last 2 months, like insane. And like I said, one of the places we will probably end up going to is England. And that's because my dad's English. So basically I can go to England because my dad's English. So I don't have the fucking paperwork government hassles that I have here in Malta. Let's just put it that way. And I have to stop myself sometimes in the fact of there's your intuition and your gut, but then sometimes I need to ensure that I'm not sugarcoating it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you start to romanticize the idea. You romanticize the idea in your head, but then you go, okay, wait, let's be realistic. We go realistic. So moving a family of 6 and 2 dogs, not fucking easy. Not fucking easy. Money to actually move and get out of the country. Finding a place to settle down. The logistics of it are not easy. It's not just click your heels together, say there's no place like home, and poof, you're in that place where you want to be. So, yeah, follow our hearts, but there's also got to be, like I said, for me, in my own self, I have to give myself a down-to-earth check every so often and be like, okay, how much of this is because that's what you genuinely really feel the need to do, and how much is this, like, literally you're wanting to leave so badly that you're just like, we'll jump on the next fucking boat to get out of this country. So, yeah. Practicalities fucking suck. Practicalities fucking suck. Now, like I said, oh yeah, and Gaia's Garden has got to, exactly, my company, Gaia's Garden, has got to keep running, and that's one of the biggest pieces, right? It's like moving the company from Malta to, for example, England, and how to do that, and how much is it going to cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's vital, because that's my baby, right? Like, Gaia's Garden, I'm never going to walk away from. That's my baby, and it's going to go anywhere I go. And that's one of the things that we look at. And like I said, moving to England makes so much sense on so many levels, i.e. shipping, i.e. shipping all my stuff in. A lot of my stuff, I buy all my bottles from England. I buy all my labels from England. Do you know what I'm saying? And the amount that I pay for shipping to ship it from England to Malta, you would not believe. It's ludicrous. So it's like I was kind of joking with Nick saying, like, shipping around England is so much fucking cheaper. And hell to the fact everything's close by. You can just go and drive and go pick up shit. You don't have to. That's a huge money savings. Like, as far as setting up a business goes, like, these are actual factors that are important. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. But I don't know, we'll find out whether or not we get our fucking residency papers here. The point may become moot when they decide to turn around and say to me, yeah, you know what? We don't want you here. You should just leave. It does feel like it's going that way. It does feel like it's going that way. Nobody ever wants me to stay in their country. The problem, I think they get on my social media page and look at me and go, oh, we don't really.
Yeah, sort of say, I wonder why. Yeah, no one wants you to stay in
the country. What do they say to you?
Oh, I don't know. They haven't given us we've been working on residency papers here. It is now 19 months. 19 months.
And they don't give you a reason.
Oh, no. You get all kinds of silly reasons that they come up with. Well, this isn't right. And well, that and this and that and this. And the first week of August, we'd heard it was on our paperwork was on the last signatory's desk. That was the first week of August. Now, like I said, it's holiday time here, so I didn't expect to hear anything for the month of August. But I don't know. I don't know.
Then your spirit's in charge, so just know that.
That's what I keep saying, Dawn. That's what I just keep saying. I keep sending out an intent now, going saying, yeah, you know what?
You don't have to worry about that, Chica. You are a very powerful being.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us doubt that for a second. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to scan up to the chat now because the chat is so far ahead of me. I have no idea what's going on. Garth, I will reach through this computer screen and smack you right across the back of the head. No. I mean, it's always there. It's always there. Don't get me wrong. It is always there. But the whole thing is, I'm sorry to say, like, we can't afford to live in Canada. That's what it comes down to. We can't afford to live in Canada. We can't afford rent in Canada. Anywhere in fucking Canada. And I don't do Northern Ontario. I'm the climate refugee, remember, who's been running away from like snow for many, many years. I don't very well. I don't do winter very well. Yeah, I know it's cheap where you are, darling, but I can't live in northern BC anymore. I lived in northern Manitoba. I've lived in northern Ontario. I can't do that shit anymore. I gotta have something longer than 6 weeks of summer. Otherwise, I don't do well, especially because I want to grow shit, so it makes it real difficult. Yeah, Leonida, there's not enough money on this planet to make me go to the States right now. I'm sorry to say.
Hey,
I completely understand that. I completely understand that you wouldn't want to go to the States. Yeah.
Hey, though, even if something presented where we could all come together, would you say that?
It would depend, but my whole thing is like I'd never get into the States. I'd never get a green card to go into the States, especially right now the way they go through your media and your social media fuck shit to get a visa they'd never let me into the States to live on it a long term. Never.
You're such a renegade.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm right there with you, Chica.
Yeah, whatever. It is what it is, for fuck's sake.
I don't really want to be here in the United States either, so anyway, so.
I say most of my American friends don't want to be in the States right now.
Yes, agreed. Yes, very much. Yeah, and if we had all the resources, I wouldn't be here. I can think of, in my head, and even on the Google images, whatever, and, it's like, you get glimpses I'm like, yeah, I'd rather be there. And then there's, like you said, in this reality, still removing yourself, like you said, removing yourself, and yeah, you can't just plop down any place you want, and it's like you kind of should be able to. I mean, as long as you have all this mutual respect, this community respect around you, there should be no problem. Yeah, we just don't allow yo-yos, okay?
Well, I mean, that's the whole, and that's another whole conversation, because we're done in 2 minutes, so we're not going to go down here. But the whole thing of setting up community, like I said, I had a test run. We got to have a really good test run in Morocco, and realize there's a whole lot of people out there who are really good at talking the talk, and not very good at walking the walk. And that's what I've said. I said, if it ever got to the point of setting up a community, I'd have some real strict rules. And that sounds terrible. I know a lot of people take that on a very bad way of being like, oh, you want to be a control. No, you have to. I've learned my lesson. You got to have fucking ground rules. You have to have major fucking ground rules if you're going to be living with people, because unfortunately, a lot of people really do talk the talk and don't know how to walk the walk. And they can talk about things and use buzzwords like, oh, respect and responsibility. But when you gets to real life, they actually have no concept of respect or self-responsibility. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And that's why I've said, when it comes to setting up any kind of a community, there has to be a set of guidelines put in place, because you can't, it sounds terrible, and I don't mean to sound like such shit, but you can't just let anyone show up on your door and say, hey, I want to be part of your community. They've got to prove themselves first. They have to prove themselves first.
And then at times like that, you know, with rules, and then if things happen, then we would handle it as a community. Because, you know, that's the way it used to be done.
Exactly. Yep.
And there are two things.
Yeah.
There are two things I will protect to the death, and that's the people who are in my life and the environment I create around me. Like, if those two things are good, then life is good. So you have to have those boundaries. You have to have those rules. You have to have those filters in, because otherwise it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And like I said, unfortunately, like, I've tried it too many times now. I've done it in different places that I've lived, where the idea of living in community. And I will say this as a parting shot before we live off tonight. Communal living is not what you want to do. It's not about communal living. Communal living is you start off right from a bad spot before you even get started. Go look up the real definition of what, like, or let's say the public perception of communal living. And if you want to talk about givers and takers, that's where almost every communal living site I've ever seen ends up, with a whole bunch of takers. And it just doesn't work. It's about having your own space. You can be in a community, but still be in your own space. Have your place, your little piece that is yours.
Yeah, it's not complicated, but you're just saying there, that's not even complicated. But and even Aaron, you were saying, I'm just thinking how none of that stuff is complicated. It's the basic stuff, but everything's been so scrambled up. The collective field, what do you call it? There's something about the basic field that we're in. It's been all distorted and everything. So there's some people who really are, what do you call it? The mental deterioration, whatever you want to call it. That some of the basic stuff, like you were just talking about, some people have a harder time grasping it fully. You know what I mean? The constant being, the state of being it. You could say the state of being it. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, not to sound catty, but the love and lighters are the worst of the crew. No, thank you.
And you know, I think back, Danny, because, you know, like I said, I've worked in corporate America a very long time, and I worked for companies out of New York. You know, I've seen a lot of shit, and you know, everybody buys for those management jobs and to get up on somebody else. And you know, I was always offered these management jobs, and I would always tell them no. Granted, I was an addict, so you know, I got my own shit I'm dealing with, but I always turned them down, and I would always say, you know, I'm really not interested in telling anybody what to do. I don't want to do it. And they couldn't understand why I didn't want to do it.
Yep.
And to this day, I don't want to do it.
Yep. I hear you. Okay, Jones, save that thought for the after show discussion because I got something to say on that. But we have to shut it down. We're already 3 minutes over time. I want to say goodbye to Twitchland. Bye, guys out there on Twitch. Sunday night is more Fringe. We're getting into the real chewy good stuff with Fringe, all the wiggy stuff. But yes, I will see everyone later. And you guys stick around and we'll have more of a chit chat. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.